Alright, this video is going to be super spontaneous and just everywhere all at once, but basically I was at this small group tonight and they were all talking about the importance of sharing your testimony, and my whole life I've kind of been like, man, I don't have a cool testimony. Like, I've grown up in the church my whole life. It's kind of lame, but I was talking with my girlfriend on the way back and just talking about like, how awesome is it that I've been able to call myself a child of God since birth, to be able to grow up in the church, to grow in faith and stature, and like that is just such a blessing. So I'm just gonna come on here, talk. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 10 minutes about like how I grew up and my testimony in coming to Christ, and encourage you guys, don't be like embarrassed about your testimony if you've been a Christian your whole life. That is an amazing thing to be able to say that you've been a Christian your whole life. So I'm just going to come out here and talk, just record it. There might be 2 people watching. If it impacts 2 people, that's 2 people impacted, and that's worth it in my eyes. So, let's go. Alright, so basically since birth, I've been a Christian. I was baptized as an infant, grew up in an Episcopal church down the street. My mom was a Sunday school teacher, so I kind of just grew up in the Sunday school. I ended up learning a lot about God, about parables, about all that sort of stuff. And, you know, as a child, like, I can't really remember, like, faith wasn't really real to me necessarily, but I think it's just because I was young, not because I was, like, out of touch. But basically, as I got to grow older, like 12-ish maybe, I graduated out of my mom's Sunday school. We were with a different Sunday school teacher, and he was a little more progressive in his beliefs. Like, he taught some stuff that, like, Jesus didn't actually feed the 5,000, that it's just, like, they brought food, that the miracles don't have to, like, exactly have happened, that, like, just Jesus' resurrection is what matters. And that kind of stuck with me, like, not in a good way, but it kind of, I don't know, maybe diminished my, like, idea of God, if that makes sense. But anyways, as a kid, like, I mean, I grew up in South Alabama, Mobile, so, I mean, it's church every Sunday. It's like, it's a big part of life. But anyways, I'd like to say things really turned around freshman year, but I used to like when I used to think of my testimony, I would think like before freshman year or like around freshman year, like I was godless, I was like terrible. But then I stumbled across a letter from my 8th grade myself in 8th grade, writing about what a successful life is. And the entire letter was me writing about how a successful life is one lived with God, in union with Him. And it's like, it kind of just made me realize that like I've been like subtly tweaking my testimony story to like try and make it more dramatic when it doesn't need to actually be dramatic. Like, it's such a blessing for me to be able to have just a slow growth of faith and be in the church my whole life. So anyways, little side note aside, but anyways, around freshman year, I'm a runner. I started to get good at running. School started ramping up. And so anyways, it was around springtime that my running, I was like having stomach issues. So that was like, it was terrible. Like, every day was terrible. And I was super stressed about academics for no reason. Like, I'm a pretty smart guy, but I was really stressed about academics. And this was to the point where like I was crying in the counselor's office like all the time. I had to stay home from school some days because I was like so anxious just about school, running, everything. And thank God, some of the older kids on my cross country team, one of them who was actually a senior and was graduating that year, they started this little team Bible study over the summer. And through this team Bible study, I met some of the most amazing friends I've ever met and just created fellowship with these guys. So as I moved into my sophomore year, I started to make the right friends. That was a big problem with me freshman year. I didn't really have many friends, and the ones I did have weren't exactly the most godly people. But as I moved into my sophomore year, I was just surrounded with some absolutely godly people who were like mentoring me and helping me walk in the right steps. So about this time, like, I started reading my Bible just about every night. I started going to Bible studies. And sophomore year, like, things started out really good at first. I was running really good. I was like 3rd on the team. And I got a girlfriend, like, I was a sophomore or whatever. But then, as the year progressed, during winter, I got hurt with a stress injury in my foot, and my girlfriend broke up with me. And this was like the point where it was like, in this valley, do I choose to follow God, or do I go back to the world? Because following God had brought me, I had some success, but I was also in this like deep, dark valley. But as I looked at my life, and I looked at freshman year, and how I was crying and depressed in freshman year, and I looked like things were even worse than they were in freshman year as a sophomore. Things were way worse. And because I had these great friends who were leading me towards God, and I had this relationship with God, it was like a no-brainer for me to choose God. And like from then on, I never really looked back. I just continued with that small group, reading my Bible, studying, learning. And then throughout junior year, like the excitement, if you will, started to fade a little. I started to just like live in a worldly way again, like just not living with the idea of God on my mind, if that makes sense. And so it just brought me to a point where like the life, I just wasn't filled with that joy of the Lord. Like that junior track season, I was running terribly. It was just like, it was a hard time. And like I was still reading my Bible. I was still going to Bible study. It just felt like I was going through the motions over and over again. Like I had been my whole life. Like it felt like that junior year, it felt like I was back in like 8th and 7th grade when I was just going through the motions day in and day out and not connecting all that head knowledge to the heart. And then senior year, things got to a point, and it was like, okay, like, I have nothing, God, like, I am nothing without you, like, I'm going all in on you. And it's like the head and the heart were connected. And I started going to youth group. I started looking forward to church. Reading my Bible felt less like a chore and more like something fun to do, something to learn and explore. And so senior year has been absolutely huge for me in building community. Even though my amazing friends from sophomore year have moved away, like I've been able to build my own community, lead a Bible study, and join other ones, and just absolutely be filled up by this community. And yeah, senior year has been absolutely incredible in my growth for the Lord. And I just cannot wait for what college has to bring. So I don't know how long this is. I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'm filming a different video, so make sure to be on the lookout for that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please never say you have a boring testimony, because growing up in the church is about the most awesome testimony you can get. And yeah, God bless.